Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the United Stand. It is me, Faz, bringing you today's morning show. Monday morning, start the week off nice and strong. A big week ahead for us this week, obviously, to start off with the Bayern Munich game that will be coming in tomorrow. And more than the Bayern Munich game, that's massive for us. I think the Galatasaray and Copenhagen game is going to be massive for us as well. All the Manchester United fans, myself included, will be glued onto our phones trying to see what the scoreline is in that game to see if we can qualify for the Champions League or the Europa League. We also obviously have to beat Bayern Munich, who lost 5-1 to Frankfurt, and Bayern Munich are going to want to respond, and boy, if they take their anger out on us, we'll be in for a very long night. Another game at home. Unfortunately, we have failed to create some sort of a home form and gain some sort of a home form this season, so I don't have any expectation. But I'll speak about a couple of things this morning. A couple of bits of news that have come out. One is on Martial, a bit of news or a bit of information on Sir Jim Ratcliffe's opinion on Bruno Fernandes as well. The first one that I'll start off with is Manchester United do not intend to extend Anthony Martial's contract when it expires at the end of the season. So, as everybody knows, I'm very vocal on Manchester United parting ways with Martial, but utilising him whilst we still have him. But he does have an extension in his contract, and surprise, surprise, Manchester United do not want to extend it. They want to let him go on a free, and this is reported by David Ornstein. So it's clearly very reliable. It's a very reliable journalist. A lot of people will be happy about this news. Let's be honest, they'll be happy that Martial, the time is over. A lot of people actually criticised him for the game against Bournemouth. They felt that he was lacklustre, he wasn't giving us anything. And I'll tell you what, it's a shame how the whole situation has turned out with Anthony Martial. And he's a fantastic player when he's fit. The forward line have scored many goals with him, Rashford, Dan James in the front line. But his time is clearly going to come to an end. And it's yet another player that is going to go on a free that we should have cashed in on. Let's be honest. If this is another thing where Manchester United hold on to players longer than they need to. I understand when people say, you know, structural issues, board issues, owner issues. I get all of that, and this is part of one of the problems is letting players go on a free. Let Lingard go on a free when we could have cashed in. Let Paul Pogba go on a free when we could have cashed in. But we failed to cash in. We should have cashed in on Anthony Martial maybe last season or a season before even, but we haven't reinvested it, and now we will have to spend yet again to replace Anthony Martial. And it's going to be interesting to see who Manchester United go in for. There's obviously a lot of links with Serhou Guirassy, who I personally like. I think the price tag that he's going for, his age, his profile, it makes sense to make sure we don't overspend or we don't go really big. But then, on the other hand, striker position is probably the position where you're going to spend the most anyways, because that's where the goal outputs come from. We clearly need someone that the team can create chances for, which I'll come on to later on, why I have such an issue with Ten Hag. And I obviously have publicly come out and said I am done with him, and I've received a wave, absolute wave of people who are not happy with me, and we'll get into it in a bit. Let me know what you have your thoughts on Anthony Martial's contract not being extended. I did mention on the forum, I think it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, it's Ricky. I texted Ricky as well and asked him this, and Kev, and online anyways, I asked, would you extend Anthony Martial's contract if he had a decent season where he doesn't get injured for majority of the season? He's obviously so far managed to stay fit. He's managed to not get injured. You know, the PTSD with Martial is he'll get injured even during warm-up, but he stayed fit. He's been part of every matchday squad this season. But Ten Hag has had it with him, and he's going to part ways. Wonder where he's going to go and whatever. I think renewing or extending his contract on the wage that he is, I can understand why Manchester United will be doing it. A couple of super chats. Thank you very much, Lee, for your contribution. Morning. As a manager myself for many years, obviously not in football, the directors share the manager's vision, not the employees. Players so back the manager and bin the troublemaker players. Well, Lee, I'm glad you know, the directors in your business share the vision, you know, of you as a manager or managers. But a funny thing, football is a funny thing, because Ricky mentioned this, and I totally agree with him. If you're a manager of a business and you invest £100 million on something, right? And a year down the line, that investment, or a year and a half, 18 months or so, nearly 2 years down the line, if that £100 million investment goes down by half, you're not surviving in that business. Let's be deadly honest. If you invest something, investors and directors, and they want to see their investment, you know, fruition and excel. So in football only, where a manager can invest or have players that they invested in, and the players regress, but, you know, obviously they don't hold the manager accountable like they would in a business somewhere else. So yeah, funny business football is. You can't make some of the mistakes that the football managers make, and obviously can't spend like some of the football managers do. So I get your point, but I don't know how much I agree with it. Manchild says, just Gary, but Phil as well. Not just Gary, but Phil as well. He spoke on NBC Sport about the experience underwriting the Glazers with Moyes. Thank you very much. Well, funny enough, I was speaking to some West Ham fans actually last night. I actively take time to speak to as many football fans as I can from all different parts of the world or different clubs. I asked them, you know, Moyes, he came in, he left, he came back in again. He's had a couple of seasons where things weren't looking good, but he's won a trophy. What did you guys go through? You know, what was the mentality? They're obviously, they think, West Ham fans now, you know, the ones that I spoke to anyways, think of David Moyes as one of their gods, and they think he's a legend of the club. Some West Ham fans think that they can challenge for top four. So that's David Moyes for you. But they even asked me, would you take Moyes back? And I said no, because there's no point going back to a manager that didn't work out with Manchester United. And he barely got any time at all, or anything in that matter. Another bit of news as well is Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said something about Bruno Fernandes, and it's very interesting what he said. I'll just bring that up for you. Just give me a second. In his book, there is obviously a book that he's got out, and it's on the Mail Sport, and he said, Manchester United incoming investor Sir Jim Ratcliffe takes a swipe at drama queen Bruno Fernandes in his book. A lot of Manchester United fans are big fans of Bruno Fernandes. They think he's a leader. They think he's the you know, he's a hard-earned captain. He's earned his captaincy. They think he's obviously, you know, a player that is very much important for Manchester United. I think the manager also thinks that. I think the manager echoes some of those fans, because Bruno Fernandes will play every minute of every game unless he's really badly injured or he's suspended. No matter what game it is, unless it's like maybe a Carabao Cup game, but he'll still come off the bench. I mean, Newcastle game, for example, Carabao Cup game, he came on. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe take a swipe at him, and he said, while Arsenal celebrated Declan Rice, let me see, the exact thing from the book, I don't know the exact quotes, but he says, in your story, Ratcliffe talks of his travels and remembers a trip around Pacific, yada, yada, yada. And he says that the potential Ratcliffe, a lifelong United fan, then potentially notes that it was a far cry from Bruno Fernandes clutching his untouched face in the Liverpool game recently. So that's interesting. He didn't like Bruno Fernandes' behaviour on the pitch in that 7-0 disaster against Liverpool. I mean, what do you guys make of that? You know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who's probably going to, you know, come in as an investor for Manchester United, having a go at the captain. What does that tell you? People are asking for a structure. People are asking for footballing people to take a hold of the club, to make footballing decisions. I say, well, in that case, if you're hearing reports like this, where Sir Jim Ratcliffe's mentioned in his book that it was a far cry from Bruno Fernandes clutching at his untouched face in the Liverpool debacle recently, I think he doesn't like Bruno Fernandes by the looks of it, or some of his behaviours, and he's going to be in for a shock, because I mean, Bruno Fernandes just got a yellow card in the last game. Now he's going to miss the Liverpool game. And he didn't get a yellow card because of a tackle. He got a yellow card for speaking to the referee and his act on the pitch. And now he's suspended against the Liverpool game. If these are the things that you don't like, then you're clearly in for a long run with Bruno Fernandes, because that's exactly who he is. He wears his heart on his sleeve. I think, look, I accept Bruno Fernandes for the type of player he is. His antics and his behaviours on the pitch is very passionate, is very vocal, and I don't have any issue with that, in all honesty. I think a lot of people get onto him for shouting at the players on the pitch or making himself known and for being vocal. I've always said it publicly that I don't have an issue with Bruno Fernandes doing that. Firstly, he's the captain. So he is naturally going to be a bit more vocal. He's going to speak to the referees. And the people who think that he has a go at players, well, yeah, I can hear the argument that he's no better off at times and he makes mistakes at times. But you still need someone to speak to the players, to kind of set the tone in a game. There was a crazy one where people mentioned that he was apparently looking to get subbed off in the Liverpool game in the 7-0, but I don't agree with that. I think this hit from Sir Jim Ratcliffe is needed, especially now when the team's not performing. Obviously, but it's come out in Mail Sports, and I wonder what he's going to think. My thing with Sir Jim Ratcliffe is first buy the club, as in, secure the 25% that you're supposed to be securing. The deal is still not done. It's still getting delayed. No agreement has been made. Apparently, some sort of announcement was supposed to come last Monday and the Monday before and the Monday before. There's zero news. And I've said it publicly as well that I don't think there's going to be any takeover news of weight this year. I don't think so. It's just remixed news that we keep getting fed. And at the end of the day, we need to concentrate on what's going on the pitch, not off the pitch. And I was never a fan of Sir Jim Ratcliffe anyways. I don't know which footballing people he's going to bring in. Funny enough that Manchester United fans, we want footballing people. But what happens when the footballing people have disagreements with Erik Ten Hag on recruitment? We sit and complain about Erik Ten Hag not getting Todibo, Erik Ten Hag not getting Harry Kane, Erik Ten Hag not getting Frankie de Jong. But what difference does that make when a DOF and CEO comes in? And what if they turn around and they say, well, imagine we did have a DOF, right, and a CEO, and they said we don't want Martinez. Martinez, who's turned out to be a fantastic player for us, and we can't wait to see him back. What if the DOF and CEO said no to Martinez and Anthony? We would say, oh, we dodged a bullet with Anthony because he's not performed to the level, but then we would have missed out on Lisandro Martinez, who we did overpay for as well. Look, I have a list of factual pieces of information that I screenshotted online, reports, articles, all of the stuff that I screenshotted online that I considered before I publicly came out and said I'm done with the manager. Someone said, oh, that's what a proper DOF would do. We bid we bid for Lisandro Martinez, right? 37.5 million. Arsenal put a bid in as well. Then Manchester United increased their bid. And there is a specific report out there that says Ajax are surprised by Manchester United's bid for Lisandro Martinez. I have the screenshots of these reports that was coming out at the time. And the club have clearly backed him enough for that transfer to go through. They overpaid for Lisandro Martinez for that transfer to go through. Arteta wanted Lisandro Martinez. How come the Kroenkes didn't give Arteta more money to go and get Lisandro Martinez? They waited for a window. Now they went and got Jurrien Timber, who's unfortunately injured for them. Martinez, turned out to be a great signing for us, so the price tag goes under the radar, no problem. But originally, the price was 37.5 million, and then that was increased substantially, 20 million, or was it 15, 20 million, and then we secured Lisandro Martinez. Lisandro Martinez said, I'm coming to Manchester United. I want to play for Erik Ten Hag. I'm not going to Arsenal. And Ajax was surprised by the bid. That's a backing. That's backing the manager to the core to get him a player. I think there might be a bit of news. Let me just see if I can bring it up. Hold on. Oh, yes, there is a bit of news from Samuel Luckhurst. I'll just bring that up. Financial fair play rules have prompted Manchester United to become more proactive sellers, though club sources insist no players will be forced out, and manager Ten Hag does not want to sanction sales that would weaken the squad. And also Samuel Luckhurst, Samuel Luckhurst comes out and says, Manchester United are open to selling Rafa Varane, Casemiro, Jadon Sancho, Donny van der Beek, and obviously Anthony Martial as well. But Martial, they're not going to extend him. He's probably going to go on a free. So yeah, that's the latest from Samuel Luckhurst. I'm surprised by the Casemiro and Rafa Varane one. I'll be deadly honest. Donny van der Beek, I understand. I'm still surprised how Ten Hag hasn't been able to coach anything out of Donny van der Beek. Zilch. Yes, he's not done well in Manchester United, and it's the Premier League, and it's different from Eredivisie. All of these arguments that people use. That argument can also be used for the manager. The manager also came from Eredivisie and stepped up to the Premier League. One of the number one players anyways, Donny van der Beek, who was part of that second team that he built in Ajax, he's not able to use him. I don't understand why. Even when he's been fit, there's no injury issue. He's been fit all season, but there is zero evidence of Ten Hag trying to use him to find a system that he can play. I don't know absolutely why. And obviously, the selling of Casemiro and Varane, I'll tell you what, how funny is it, right? Last season, we all sat here and we said the midfield is vacated and Casemiro is left alone, as a DM. He isn't getting any support. We want to see a double pivot of Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo. We want to see a double pivot of Amrabat and Casemiro. Amrabat comes in. He has a little bit of injury concern. He starts playing games. But we're not using that double pivot system that we said we were going to use. Casemiro goes on international duty, comes out injured, plays 45 minutes, goes off injured again, then has a long-term injury where he's not going to be back until maybe next year now. He's back on the grass, but I don't know if he's going to be able to play any game this year. But we're still not seeing that double pivot, even with Kobbie Mainoo and Amrabat. And funny thing is, now Sofian Amrabat is being left alone in the midfield. I don't understand why. The same issue that happened with Casemiro is the same issue that's happened with Sofian Amrabat. It's like for like. The midfield is still yet vacated. Scott McTominay is still going further up the pitch to score goals. Bruno Fernandes has got a free run position where he's not sticking to his position at times. And the DM is being left alone. Same, exact same. And this is not me making it up. This is what you guys see on the pitch. This is what we all see on the pitch. And I don't know why the manager is not able to do this. Let me see. There is someone, Tom Edwards, who's become a member as well. Thank you very much for becoming a member. On a side note as well, I'll tell you this, right? Obviously, live show today. I'm very much excited. If you are coming to the show, let me know in the chat. And I can't wait to see you. I really can. There's nothing more than I love than speaking to fans face to face. Even if you disagree with me. I had dinner with some fans a couple of days ago and spoke about football for a few hours. I'm excited to see some of the people who have DM'd me and want to speak to me. Absolutely nothing that I love. Yeah, nice one. And yeah, I'm excited to see you. If you have any questions, unfortunately, if you're not able to make the show, and if you have any questions that you want to ask myself, Ricky, Kev, Bev, Mark, send in a super chat with your question and we'll pick it up and we'll pick out some of the best questions that we can and bring it up on the show. So yeah, get all your questions in. I'll be doing the presser as well later on, so you can do it then as well. A bit more news for you guys in the morning show. There is also uncertainty over the future of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. The right back is technically out of a contract in summer, and while Manchester United are bound to extend his deal as there is a resale value, there is an emphasis on over discussions regarding a new contract, and that is from Samuel Luckhurst. Samuel also says, Casemiro is sidelined until Christmas with a hamstring problem, and his drastic drop in form as well as his fitness issues have convinced Manchester United to gauge whether there is a market for the Brazilian international. Samuel also has put out, although Ten Hag implied Sancho could still return to the fold if he apologises, club sources insist Sancho is still likely to be moved on next month. Wow. I'm very heartbroken with the Casemiro one, I'll be honest. Best player for us, one of the best players for us next to Lisandro Martinez last season. And he's now being filtered out because he's out of form and has got a little bit of fitness issues. You have to manage the squad. Casemiro is a fantastic player. Absolutely fantastic. He saved us last season. The one player that we needed, the defensive midfielder, he absolutely saved us. And now he's being filtered out for more footballing reasons. Absolutely unfair. Absolutely unfair. He still can give us one more season. And we got Sofian Amrabat on a loan, right? He's nowhere, with no disrespect, he's nowhere near Casemiro. Casemiro on his best day is absolutely exceptional. I remember when Manchester United fans were bantering Arsenal fans over Thomas Partey, and Arsenal fans would say Thomas Partey is better than Casemiro. Who remembers that? I don't forget these things. Casemiro being filtered out is unbelievable. Now, Rafa Varane is another one that's being filtered out because of his fitness issues. Okay, I can understand it. But when Rafa Varane is when Rafa Varane is available, the manager isn't using them. This is in front of you. I am not making this up. People have this weird thing where when they don't have a response against what I'm saying, they'll say I'm waffling, or they'll say, who do you want next? They don't have a legitimate response to what I say. Rafa Varane was available to play against Bournemouth. Erik Ten Hag decided not to play him. Play Johnny Evans instead. He subbed on Johnny Evans instead. On what managerial book does subbing on Johnny Evans against Bournemouth when you're losing make sense? I don't understand. Nobody here can explain to me at all. He doesn't use some of the players that he needs to or could use, and he constantly picks the players that we Manchester United fans say players are the issue. Well, if we say this, he is the one that uses Lindelof in games, or has done. He is the one that uses Scott McTominay instead of Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo was available against Bournemouth. He used Scott McTominay. This is what your manager is doing. He's tactically setting out Scott McTominay to play as almost like a second striker, further up the pitch to get goals. Where we have the #1 chance creator in the league, not creating chances for the front line. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Bruno Fernandes, the #1 chance creator, let me actually unpack this point, and I want someone to reply to me in the chat. Bruno Fernandes, the #1 chance creator in the Premier League. Beth absolutely adores him. Many of the fans absolutely love him. Okay. Mark as well. He thinks Bruno Fernandes is the best signing since Alex Ferguson left. Okay. Well, in that case, how come the manager hasn't coached the team to get more output out of Bruno Fernandes? And you can't blame him on injuries. You can't tell me suspensions, because he hasn't had suspensions except for this one. He plays every single game, every single minute. He never gets substituted. Someone tell me this answer. The #1 chance, Kevin De Bruyne publicly came out and he put Bruno Fernandes as his top midfielder list, Kevin De Bruyne. And Manchester United fans used that against, myself, Ricky, when we criticized Bruno. I criticized Bruno. How come the manager isn't able to get more out of Bruno Fernandes? Can someone explain this? He's played Hannibal in a 10 as well, don't forget. Instead of getting more out of Bruno Fernandes, he was adamant at one point playing Bruno Fernandes on the right wing. How can I explain this and back the process? Can anybody answer that? Can anybody answer that? I'll wait. People will blame what I say because they say I'm saying this, I'm saying that. But the simple questions, they will not be able to answer and come back on. It's a very simple question and a very simple answer is needed. The answer is Erik Ten Hag isn't coaching the team. He's simply not coaching the team. Our success rate from crosses is abysmal. The players aren't crossing because they're not good. They can't cross the ball. Well, these are professional players. They can't cross the ball. in game, when they need to cross the ball, why isn't the manager asking the players to do it more often? Why aren't we making patterns of play with different strikers on the pitch, Martial and Rasmus? Why not? If Martial is abysmal and Martial is awful, as some people claim, how come Rasmus Højlund is struggling in the Premier League? There are some fans who thought Wout Weghorst should stay. I mean, Sam is one of them. Sam loves Wout Weghorst. Ginger's one of them. Ginger loves Wout Weghorst. It's been 29 Premier League games since Wout Weghorst and Rasmus Højlund who haven't scored in the Premier League. 29 Premier League games. I have nothing against Rasmus Højlund. I think he can become an exceptional player if he keeps growing. But the front line, the midfield, we're not creating for a striker. It's a goal drought for all the strikers. Wingers are not scoring an ample amount of goals or getting ample amount of assists. It doesn't make sense. And the thing that people say, we don't create chances, like just Kevin says, we don't create chances for our strikers. Why is it not? People blame the fullbacks. Well, can you only blame the fullbacks? Are the fullbacks the only people responsible? If Bruno Fernandes was creating and the team was creating an ample amount of chances and the strikers are missing, you could say something at that point, that the team is trying to create chances. We don't create. Okay, let's move on to, let's say, Diogo Dalot, right? People say Diogo Dalot, he didn't square the ball to Rasmus Højlund and he could have, and it was 1-0 at that point and we could have come 1-1. Very fair. People know how much I love Dalot, how much I support him. I will hold it. I will say, okay. But a couple of games ago, Dalot had squared the ball to near post and Rasmus Højlund missed a chance. Strikers are supposed to score chances and also miss them. It's the nature of the game. But if Dalot didn't square the ball to Rasmus Højlund against Bournemouth, why aren't the team getting in those areas more often? Have you asked yourself that question? Why aren't we able to continuously create similar sort of chances? So then, okay, we fumbled one chance, let's go and create another one. Why? Can anybody tell me? I don't understand. I'm past looking at things surface level. You know, Manchester United, the players that we have now, you need to be a good man manager. You do. Man management is key, is important. Ole Gunnar was sacked, but let's be honest, we all know here that the players absolutely love and adored Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They absolutely love and adored him. They did. Ole took the bullet for players all the time, to the point where Bruno Fernandes had came out and said, don't blame the manager, blame us. But how do you think the players... Erik Ten Hag publicly says that some players bring their opinions to me, but majority don't. Well, I wonder why. You're having issues with Casemiro, you're having issues with Varane, you had issues with Ronaldo, you had issues with David De Gea and you let him go. The leaders in the changing room you've got issues with. And how do you think players are going to come and speak to you? How do you think players are going to feel? You've got issues with Jadon Sancho, and Jadon Sancho's got issues of his own, lateness, attitude, whatever it is. You need to get the players to buy in. And it's okay to say these players aren't good enough. That's fine. You know what? I like going with other people's narrative. These players aren't good enough. These players. Name these players. Stop telling me these players anymore. Name them. Marcus Rashford isn't good enough. Well, in the last 8 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, Marcus Rashford has got double-digit GA in every season except for one. He's not a good enough player for Manchester United. Let's go with that narrative. Marcus Rashford has got double-digit GA every season except for one, in all comps. He's not a good enough player. Erik Ten Hag, you and I both know Manchester United aren't selling Marcus Rashford. Newsflash. They are not going to sell Marcus Rashford. Mourinho tried to bench him. Why doesn't Erik Ten Hag do it more often? Erik Ten Hag's probably going to play him tomorrow. He's going to start tomorrow. I wonder if he's going to be benched. I don't think so. He's probably going to start against Liverpool as well. Is he going to go on a run of games where he doesn't play Marcus Rashford to prove a point? No. He's already played Marcus Rashford in, 18 and a half games, if I'm not mistaken, this season already. And he's been having a poor form all season. You have to make the most of the players that you have. That's how you make your bread and butter. He's not able to get more out of Marcus Rashford this season. He's having a poor form and people are going in on Marcus Rashford. Fairs. He's not able to get Bruno Fernandes to create more chances when he's the #1 Premier League chance creator in the #1 chance creator in the Premier League. What else do you want me to say? Luke Shaw, who's got an amazing left foot, he's not able to get more crosses and set pieces and more output out of him. He's just come back from injury, but even before injury, he's failed that. I don't understand. There's no cutbacks. Our fullbacks don't get in positions to do proper cutbacks constantly. I don't get it. He knew when he came into Manchester United that Jadon Sancho's already in the club, yet he decided to go and buy another player. Anthony, in the same position. When you had Amad Diallo, Facundo Pellistri, Alejandro Garnacho, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho. Some of the players like Pellistri and Garnacho were not ready, but he ended up using Garnacho last season in many, many games anyways, and then ended up getting him a contract. All of these things I'm mentioning is the factual information that has happened. I'm not making anything up. I'm not even giving my opinion at this point. What the truth is he brought in a winger whilst Sancho was there, whilst Pellistri was there, and Garnacho was there, and he ended up using Alejandro Garnacho for loads of games last season anyways. Alejandro Garnacho was the most impactful player from the bench in the Premier League. That's a factual piece of information. I don't understand. I really, really don't. The average age of our centre-backs is 30 plus years old. Victor Lindelof needs to leave. Okay, you say these players, right? Victor Lindelof needs to leave. Eric Ten Hag relied on Victor Lindelof latter stages of last season on his good form to help Manchester United. Remember the penalty he scored, Iceman. Victor Lindelof needs to leave. Harry Maguire just won Premier League Player of the Month and he's now having a good stint. Harry Maguire needs to leave. Johnny Evans has an assist this season. He's coming to help Manchester United. But let's be honest, he's not going to stay another season. He's going to leave. Rafa Varane has injury concerns. And Eric Ten Hag has had allegedly issues with him. Now Rafa Varane is going to leave. 4 centre-backs that are going to leave Manchester or have to leave Manchester United. How do you replace that? Do not be surprised if Harry Maguire ends up staying in Manchester United. Don't be surprised. I think there's a couple of super chats. Let me bring that up. Anthony Murray says, can you not see he's showing the board that the squad is not squad has no strength in depth? Eric Ten Hag is doing a Fergie. Fergie did it to sell the culture he inherited. Okay. Please do explain, Anthony, what you mean by he's showing the board that the squad has no strength in depth, because against Chelsea game, he said, we have a good enough squad. And then the game after, we have a good enough squad to be consistent. And then the game after against Bournemouth, he publicly goes out and says, we don't have a good enough squad to be consistent. That's the manager. He had Kobe Mino on the bench. He didn't use him. He had Rafa Varane on the bench. He didn't use him. Funny thing is, Harry Maguire has played majority of his Manchester United and England career as a left-sided centre-back. But Eric Ten Hag has magically come out and thought that Harry Maguire will play the right-hand-sided centre-back because of angles and passing lanes. Yet we're still not having good outputs. It doesn't make sense. And he's playing Luke Shaw as a left-sided centre-back. And now all of a sudden, people were adamant that Luke Shaw's going to come back and he's going to be a massive addition. He's been good. But we lost against Bournemouth 3-0 while Luke Shaw's on the pitch as a left-sided centre-back. And Luke has done a fantastic job being a left-sided centre-back before. How come someone can't unpack that for me? Give me a proper response. Luke Shaw has done well as a left-sided centre-back. Harry Maguire played as a left-sided centre-back for majority of his Manchester United and England career. But Luke Shaw played that position instead of his natural position in the left back. Whilst Rafa Varane was on the pitch, Rafa Varane was on the bench, Johnny Evans was on the bench. Whose fault is that? In-game management and tactical setup of the team is what's causing me the most issues. Most issues. Again, surface level responses I'll get. People say, you go and coach the team. You go. Well, funny enough, what I said on the forum after the Bournemouth game, the Bournemouth manager came out and said it in the presser. This is me, little old Faz, sat in a forum saying that. And he came out and said the exact same thing in a press conference. Listen, I'll tell you what, I'm very, very, very I've thought this through before I came out publicly on the biggest football fan platform to say that I'm done with the manager. I knew exactly what the fan base would say. Now Luke Shaw is poor, so now Luke Shaw needs to be sold. But funny enough, the narrative was, I can't wait till Luke Shaw comes back. Oh my God, Luke Shaw's finally back from injury. 2 centre-backs on the bench. There's a formation called 3-5-2. Play 3 defenders at the back. Pack out the midfield. You know the midfield's getting ripped apart. You know Amrabat's a trigger for teams now, that he doesn't like being pressed. Same with Casemiro. But Eric Ten Hag is adamant to let Scott McTominay roam up to get a goal. It doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense. I would full well be okay with believing in the process if I saw a process. I just don't see a process at all. And I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone. And I'm happy for people to bring up the points. Someone says Luke Shaw is our best player. Well, that tells you a lot, considering how many years he's been here. And we hold on to players for long. Chris Johnson's sent in a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Says to, I think that's a question for the live show. I'll make sure I'll get that question. Bear with. I'll make sure I don't miss that question. Thank you very much for your question, my mate. Appreciate that. Yeah. Damien says, looking forward to tonight's show. Yes, I am too. Got a lot of segments, a lot of fun segments, and to get into. And yeah, I'm really excited to meet some of you. ETH is getting outclassed by a 16th place manager whilst having a better squad on paper. It's the manager, says the True Sora. And a lot of people are just unhappy with what I'm saying. They just don't like it. But they don't have a response. Who do I want next is the question that I get asked a lot. And well, what can I say? I'm not going to give you that response. I'm not going to feed into that. Unless anybody can give me who you wanted when Moyes was getting sacked, when Van Gaal was getting sacked, when Jose was getting sacked, when Ole was getting sacked. Did you have a response then? Bring me the receipts. DM it to me. I always have my DMs open. DM me who you wanted when those managers were getting sacked with proper receipts. And then I'll tell you. I will tell you. Give it to him till the end of the season. And give it to Eric Ten Hag to the end of the season. See this out. And I tell you what. You know what? Okay. Give him to the end of the season. Do not come top 4. I repeat. Manchester United should not finish in the Champions League spot in that case. There is absolutely 0 point in finishing in the Champions League spot. 0. I don't know why you guys want to see Champions League football. Why? Just so we can get battered by Bayerns and the Napolis and whoever there are, Copenhagen's of Champions League, just so we can get battered. We are bottom of the Champions League group stage. Bottom. In a group stage with Copenhagen in it. With absolutely no disrespect to Copenhagen. Copenhagen's wage bill, the entire squad's wage bill, is the same as Marcus Rashford's yearly salary. I have absolutely nothing I can say. Player for player, we have better players. We have better players than Copenhagen. That particular game, you cannot tell me anything other than, oh, I'm chatting a load of shit. And yet we've not been able to do a job on them. Doesn't make sense. There is a super chat. Let me see. I'll bring it up. Thank you very much for your super chat. Flash Talk says, what makes our squad better than Bournemouth? What makes our squad better than Bournemouth? Are you being serious? Like, except for Dominic Solanke, who would you take from Bournemouth's team? Now you're going to mention all the players. You're going to say, okay, I'll take this centre-back, I'll take that midfield. It's always trying to change the players. The funny thing is, football players are not parts like in a car. You can't just buy a part, put it in, and it works. It doesn't work like that. We've done that already. We've got Rasmus Højlund, the striker, put him in. He's not getting the chances and he's not getting the goals in the Premier League. We've got in Amrabat, who's more energetic, has more legs, can do a bit more than, for example, Eriksen, let's say. Put him into the team. It's not worked. We've got Andre Onana, one of the best goalkeepers we could have found, the #1 in the Champions League. We've got him, put him in between the stick, and it's not worked. We've got Anthony, who's Erik Ten Hag's #1 player. So much so, he's so important to Erik Ten Hag that when Anthony was suspended, Erik Ten Hag played a diamond with Eriksen in the DM against Brighton. Factual piece of information. I am not making this up. I am not. This is not even an opinion. It's just what happened. He is so important. I asked Ajax fans, have you ever seen Erik Ten Hag play a diamond with Ajax? Ajax fans, lifelong Ajax fans told me, we have never seen him do that. But clearly he's done that for numerous games because Anthony's not here and playing Bruno Fernandes on the right side when Facundo Pellistri is there. Facundo Pellistri is available, he plays Bruno Fernandes, the #1 chance creator on the Premier League on the right-hand side. That's your manager. Absolutely doesn't make sense. Nobody can come back and give me a fair point of anything I'm saying. I don't understand why. It's just you're blinded by the grace of Erik Ten Hag. That's all I can come back to. Anthony Murray with the super chat says, what Erik Ten Hag says to the press is what he has to say. He says to the board is different. Do you not remember the cries for Fergie's head? Anthony, please will you respond with what position did Sir Alex Ferguson finish in his second season in Manchester United? When Sir Alex Ferguson took over Manchester United, and how many managers we went through, by the way, before Sir Alex came in? How many managers, was it 4 managers, if I'm not mistaken, that we went through before we got Sir Alex Ferguson? We went through manager after manager after manager, manager after manager, and then Sir Alex came in. What position did Sir Alex Ferguson finish in his second season? No response. I think there is another one. Is there another one? No, there's not another super chat. Yeah. So, and people want to compare. People want to compare Sir Alex's time, right? People want to compare Sir Alex's time with Erik Ten Hag, and I absolutely don't know why. I absolutely do not know why. I don't get it. The fact that you guys mentioned Sir Alex Ferguson and Erik Ten Hag in the same sentence, comparing something that happened at 19-something to this, is something I don't understand. I really don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. Where's my chat gone? Arteta finished 8th twice. Now look at them. No, he didn't. Arteta's first season was half a season. Why are you using that? Why are you using Arteta's half a season as a piece of information? Did Erik Ten Hag get half a season when he came in? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Sir Alex Ferguson took over from Ron Atkinson, finished 11th, and then finished 2nd in the 87-88 season. He finished 2nd in his second season, and then he finished 12th and 13th. And then he got on to 6th, 12th, won the league. So the people who replied saying, I asked you, what position did Sir Alex Ferguson finish in his second season with Manchester United? Someone mentioned 9th. You don't even know. Someone said 13th. That's not even true. It's not even true. He finished 2nd in his second season in the 87-88 season. I don't get why people use that as an excuse. It absolutely doesn't make sense. Absolutely doesn't make sense at all. And the thing with comparison with Arteta and Klopp, in their full seasons, because Erik Ten Hag has had full season, not half. Arteta had half a season first. In Arteta's full season, he came 8th. And then he went up 4 positions. Compare full seasons. Anthony Murray says 2nd. I was there. Thank you very much. I thought my mind was going crazy on a Monday morning. I couldn't believe some people are commenting 13th, 11th, 9th. I couldn't believe it. Arteta had half a season. In his full season, I am going to compare full seasons only because Erik Ten Hag had full seasons. Arteta in his full season came 8th. Klopp in his full season came 4th. And then 4th again. You don't regress. You don't go backwards. Even if Erik Ten Hag can come 4th, there is an argument to say, okay, there is something that he's doing. I don't see Erik Ten Hag coming 4th at all. And yes, people say, Faz, you know, the league isn't over yet. You have to wait. You have to be patient. And you guys can be patient. I'm not moving the goalpost as well. I'm just mentioning to you, what did Sir Alex Ferguson do in his second season? What did Arteta do in his second full season? What did Klopp do in his second full season? What did they do? Manchester United fans, compare. We are level on points, or we were, right? We were level on points with Spurs. So how good is Ange Postecoglou? Oh, Ange Postecoglou hasn't won a game in a month. Well, Ange Postecoglou hasn't won a game in a month and was level on points with us until he beat Newcastle. And Ange Postecoglou has had no experience with big clubs in Europe. It's his first season, and he has lost the #1 striker in the entire world. Ange Postecoglou has lost the #1 striker, the most decorated striker in the past decade or so, and he's still finding out results. And he's not won a game in a month until he just beat Newcastle. Bissouma, he's managed to get more out of. He's managing to get more out of his front line. And he's got Heung-min Son, who's an exceptionally world-class player. I absolutely love him. He's getting more out of Kulusevski, who was a lone player for Spurs. He came in as a lone player and then he became permanent. Richarlison, who many people think is not a good striker, scored against Newcastle. And now people will tell me Harry Kane isn't decorated. Someone actually commented saying Harry Kane isn't decorated. This is the truth in front of your eyes. The obsession. Bayern Munich have changed 5 managers, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bayern Munich have lost 5 managers, have changed 5 managers in the last 5 years. 5 managers. Do you think the managers that come into Bayern Munich get a transfer window where they get all their players? Answer that question for me. Do you think Bayern Munich in the last 5-6, they haven't lost a game in the group stage in the last 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, in the Champions League? The managers that come into Bayern Munich, do they get time in the transfer? Do they get backing in the transfer window? Explain that. It's a farmers' league now. Now it's a farmers' league. Valid points that people cannot break down. Barcelona, how many managers do they change? Structure, right. So Bayern Munich has a better structure than us. But the managers that go into Bayern Munich don't get the windows that Erik Ten Hag got. Don't get the backing to the level that Erik Ten Hag gets. Barcelona have had numerous managers, and Barcelona are one of the most brokest clubs there is. So what structure is there? They owe players' wages, they defer players' wages, they sell grass from their pitch. We bantered them for that. They host weddings in their stadium to raise revenue. They sold their TV rights. They sold their stadium to raise money because they were that much in disarray. They're still in that much disarray. And Barcelona fans called for Xavi's head, and Xavi won them the league. They still call for Xavi's head. What structure do they have? But hey, there is absolutely no one to come in and have a proper conversation with me and tell me, Faz, let's have a conversation. I disagree with your points, and I have proper breakdown as to why I disagree. I come fully prepared with my factual pieces of information. How much backing did the managers previous to Luis Enrique get in PSG? And PSG, with a snap of a finger, getting rid of managers. Roman Abramovich, how many managers did he get rid of? Manager after manager after manager after manager. And until 2020, for one whole decade, Chelsea were tied with Man City as one of the most decorated clubs in England. I have the report, I have the article screenshotted as well. Won a Champions League with Chelsea, and then he got sanctioned and he had to part ways with Chelsea, Roman Abramovich. Obviously, he's a fantastic owner. But again, he's had FFP issues or whatever issues he's had. So has Man City. Manager after manager after manager they go through. James says Barca are not skin. Again, I can't make conversation out of this. This is what people are mentioning. There is zero evidence of anybody having a real conversation with me and explaining to me why they don't agree with me and bringing factual information. The simple reason is you guys want to give Erik Ten Hag time because it's a process. That's all. I mentioned things to you that happened on the pitch. I will mention things to you on the transfer market. Imagine if Erik Ten Hag didn't get Antony. So 2023 now, right? Last season, let's say he doesn't get Antony and the performances wasn't good. People would sit here and say, oh, Erik Ten Hag didn't get Antony. He didn't get backed. He wanted Todibo, he didn't get backed. So now imagine if we didn't get Antony. Imagine we didn't get Martinez. Ajax rejected people. I don't hold Erik Ten Hag accountable for the transfer fees at all. That's not his fault at all. But how come Liverpool placed a bid for Moises Caicedo? They did place a bid. Chelsea outbidded them. And then Jurgen Klopp had to shift his transfer target and brought in Ryan Gravenberch. And he's making it work with Ryan Gravenberch, Endo and Szoboszlai. What structure does Liverpool have when Liverpool fans were flying FSG out and FSG out was trending? Because they were not happy with their ownership for not having spent the money in Liverpool and backing Klopp. What structure do they have? They, with no disrespect, they used to say Liverpool have a dinosaur midfield. Well, why didn't FSG back Klopp to get him a midfielder, get him players beforehand? What structure do they have? They had a poor transfer window. Liverpool were absolutely abysmal. They didn't finish where they were supposed to. And fans had FSG out banners flying over Anfield. Anybody can answer that? Let me see, a couple of super chats. Thank you very much. Andy Murray says, second, I was there. Yeah, I read that one. Colin says, sell Onana as soon as possible and invest on Guirassy plus backup centre-back. Well, then, mate, we won't have a goalkeeper unless, you keep Tom Heaton and Altay Payne there. And again, number one identification for Erik Ten Hag, Andre Onana, we got him. After one season in Inter Milan, he's coming to Manchester United. And he's not a young goalkeeper. He's an experienced goalkeeper, and we have to see it through. Or you now with the super chat says, Klopp and Arteta didn't play survival football. Anthony Murray says he finished 11th, 12th, 13th, 8th, 6th, 2nd, 1st. He was given time to build. In his second season, he didn't go back. This is the number one thing that I'm mentioning. The first bullet point on my list of things that I am, that I'm speaking about, why I am against the manager now, is the number one thing: you do not go back in your second full season. End of conversation. Nobody goes backwards down the league. You don't go down in the league. You have to build. You go forward. You do a little bit better than last season. You score a little more goal than last season. You try and get a little bit more points than last season. I'm not asking you to win the league. I'm not asking you to go to the final of the Champions League. I'm not even asking you to go to a domestic final. Just do a little bit better. Just build a little bit more. Do a little bit more. But he's not been backed. Got the number one striker that he wanted. Got the number one goalkeeper that well, not the number one striker, because according to people, he wanted Harry Kane. Okay. Got Rasmus Højlund. Old Trafford crowd cheers when he comes on. Got Andre Onana. He got Mason Mount. But Mason Mount's injured. Can you firsthand tell me if Mason Mount comes into this team that you think he can uplift this midfield? Let's be deadly honest. From what you're seeing from Manchester United, How does he get into this midfield? There's Scott McTominay, who's currently performing. Kubi Mino, who's an exceptional talent that we want to see with Amrabat. And Bruno Fernandes is undroppable. He's the #1 player for the team. How does Mason Mount go into this? Anybody? Can anybody tell me at all? Escape says, Faz, the chat is expensive. Drop your number. I'm regularly on our Discord. Look, I take a lot of hours from my day to respond to as many people as I can. So join the United Stand Discord community. We do obviously the regular call-in shows where I will speak to you all. Daniel says people are disappearing from the chat, Thanos style. No response. They'll just sit here and say you're delusional, you're chatting shit, you're waffling. No proper response. No level-headed response to what I'm saying. And I'm being as reactionary as I can be. This morning I decided to speak to you properly in a calm manner. KG Edit says, get Mark to sit you down, ETH in. Well, I've been tweeting Mark, and obviously I speak to Mark anyways. Mark has, he's publicly said, who do you want next? Well, I'm not going to answer that because I want Mark to tell me who did he want when Moyes got sacked, when Van Gaal got sacked, when Ole got sacked, when Jose got sacked. What process does Mark see that he can sell to me and say Faz and Ricky, because Ricky said this, echoes the same thing. Ricky doesn't like the manager as well. What process does Mark see? Why can't you tell me, KG Edits? What process do you see? Why do you have to get Mark? New DOF comes in. New DOF identifies his own players. Does the manager not have to coach them? If now we don't get to, if the DOF comes in, DOF doesn't get Todibo, DOF doesn't get Guirassy, and he goes and gets someone else, does Erik Ten Hag not have to coach them? But hey, end of the season, we will see where we finish. We have Bayern Munich. We have, let me just get the fixture list. We have Bayern Munich, we have Liverpool, I think West Ham and Villa that are coming up. Let me ask this question to the chat as I come to the end, towards the end of the show. How many points are we going to get in our next 4 games? Ruben Killer says the problem is the players, not the manager. Give me a breakdown. Which players? Is Bruno Fernandes part of the problem? Because Bruno Fernandes played under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ole sacked. Rashford played under him. Ole sacked. Luke Shaw, Martial. Which players are you saying are the problem? Because Rashford didn't play against Bournemouth. Lindelof didn't play against Bournemouth. Varane didn't play against Bournemouth. Which players? David De Gea was an issue. He's not here. He had numerous mistakes in him. KG Edit says, I can't say because I have £4 to my name, so I can't speak. Bless you. Bless you. Thank you very much for the super chat. We definitely appreciate you. But like I said, join the Discord. And what I've decided is I'm not going to type my responses. These sorts of analysis, you can't type it. You need to sit down and have a proper conversation. Proper conversation. In the next 4 games against Bayern Munich, Liverpool, West Ham and Aston Villa, how many points are we going to get? Comment down below. We're not winning Bayern. No chance. We're not winning Liverpool away from home. We can't even beat Bournemouth at home, let alone Liverpool away from home. West Ham fans are licking their lips. Villa, Unai Emery, I don't know what the hell he's doing and how he's managing to get what he's getting out of the team. I'm absolutely baffled. I'm absolutely baffled by what Unai Emery is doing with Aston Villa. I've not even dissected it in all honesty. To sit down and understand what Unai Emery is doing and what structure does Aston Villa have. What is the structure that Aston Villa have mythically got for their manager to be doing the football that they're playing? Same thing with Spurs. Apparently Spurs have a structure. But yeah, some people said 12, some said 3. I think we might get 4 points if we're lucky. Get rid of players. I just hear players. Just don't hear what players and the reasons why. Just players. Get rid of players. No reason as to why. No other person wants to say, there's over nearly 4,000 of you but not many people say how many points we're going to get. Glenny Boy says, funny thing is, if we win next 2 of our games, you're going to say, saying my manager again. No, I'm not. That is actually the funniest thing. I'm not. Because Chelsea game, I thought, I obviously came into the game with 15, 16, and 16th game week, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be Liverpool game. But the yo-yo performance, for me, is it. Listen, you Manchester United fans back Arsenal more than they back anything else. Arsenal. Arteta. Look what they did with Arteta. Look. Arsenal fans had T-shirts of Arteta out, so miss me with it. Miss me with it. During COVID season, Arsenal fans had Arteta out T-shirts printed. So you can well and truly miss me with it. It's the manager's decision, manager's job to show me the process. And if the manager's picking Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw and Sergio Reguilon, then you can well and truly miss me with it. And now people are saying Bruno is a coward. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for spending the morning show with me. It's always nice to have a debate. It's always nice to give your opinions and hear other people's opinions. I will be back. What time is the presser? 12:15. We will be live at 12:15, so exactly an hour and 15 minutes from now, to bring you the presser reaction from Erik Ten Hag for our upcoming game against Bayern Munich. I will catch you on that show. Thank you all, and see you on the next show. Take care.